gonna be the purpose of this video, is just talk about the Juan Soto sweepstakes. I'm looking down at my phone because I like every little tidbit, every little piece of information I'm trying to keep my eye on in terms of just MLB free agency. I love this time of year. Well, when moves are actually being made and like rumors are actually going about. Like, just as a baseball fan in general, I just love the idea, like just love this point of the year where guys are switching teams and whatnot. But as of right now, probably like the most like eye-popping move, I guess, is Jorge Soler to the Angels. But like Jose Siri just got traded to the Mets like maybe 20 minutes ago. But in any case, like, I'm thinking that I'm just sitting here waiting for guys like Corbin Burns and Juan Soto and Teoscar Hernandez, hearing where these guys are going to go. But talking about Juan Soto more specifically, this guy is the big fish of free agency. So we're going to wait to see how much money he's going to get. We're going to wait to see what team he's going to end up going to. Is it one of the New York teams? Is it the Red Sox? Is it the Blue Jays? Is it one of these other teams that have been in reports the last couple of days? But the main point of this video is to kind of get my thoughts on the Juan Soto sweepstakes and kind of see how he fits with all the teams that he's been linked to. We got to keep in mind that Juan Soto just came off an All-Star, another Silver Slugger. He was one of the most feared hitters in baseball this year. If you look at his Baseball Savant page, from an offensive perspective, it is all red. Defense, I could care less about what kind of defense you'll play in left or right field. For your team, that doesn't matter. You're getting Juan Soto for his bat, and his generational bat at that. Dude hit a career high 41 home runs. He walked over 120 times. I think like the third straight year he's done that. He helped bring the Yankees to their first World Series in 15 years. And keep in mind, Juan Soto is only 25, I believe 25, 26 years old, and he's no older than that. And you're going to potentially sign him for his prime and for the rest of his career. He's going to get paid north of $600 million. I would say that's even like lowballing him for 600. I would think he probably gets like 650 if I'm a betting man. And Juan Soto is a perfect fit for any team in the league. It doesn't matter where he's going to go. He's going to make that team better no matter what. Even if he goes back to the Yankees, he makes the Yankees better. So let's talk about the Blue Jays. We're last in the AL, and it was just outside of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., everybody else on that team just did not have a very good season. Elton Varsho, he won the Gold Glove in center field. They have guys, they have Vlad, they have Varsho, they have Alejandro Kirk. This team was bad. Outside of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., this team was bad, especially on the pitching side. The pitching side was just awful. Like, Kevin Gausman had himself a bad season. Chris Bassett, bad. Yusei Kikuchi got traded to the Astros and started balling. Romano was just terrible. Somebody like Bo Bichette had an especially bad season, and obviously for somebody like him, like, you're more looking for him to, from an offensive production standpoint, that's where he really shines, but he just didn't have that for him going this year. The fact that Vladdy is on the last year of his arbitration and potentially could be on a different team at the end of the next season. How can you sell that to Juan Soto that you sign here for, in the next 13, 14 years, our next best player is potentially going to be gone because they haven't been able to bring him in for an extension, and then outside of Vladdy, like the future doesn't look very good for Toronto. But I think for me, the Blue Jays should be worrying more about building for the future compared to trying to bring somebody in like Juan Soto. But again, maybe it's just optimism and the idea of trying to bring in somebody like Juan Soto, like, because again, don't get me wrong, they bring in somebody like Juan Soto that really, like, that could easily start getting them back to where they want to be. But at the same time, it's real hard to sell him. Obviously they could pay him, but at the same time, it's like the next best player is potentially going to be gone in the next 2 seasons, and then it's kind of hard to sell him on the rest of these guys on the roster. So I think out of all the teams, I think the Blue Jays have the least likely chance. For the Blue Jays to want to go after these guys, they were really set on trying to get Shohei Ohtani last year, and then I like the fact that they try to go out and get these guys, but I just think as of the way the team is right now, I just don't think that's possible for them, or it's realistic, I guess I should say. But in all seriousness, I think Blue Jays should be building to the future and not really worrying about Juan Soto. But hey, I do like the idea that they're still trying to make moves to try to get better. Next, let's talk about the Yankees. Now, again, what I talked about Juan Soto and Aaron Judge were the modern day Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris. Both those guys had terrific seasons. You had Judge, who had 58 home runs. Soto had a career high 41. Judge, most likely getting another MVP if he hasn't won it already. You brought in Jazz Chisholm from the Marlins. You had Anthony Volpe, and then you have Austin Wells and Luis Gil on the pitching side, who just won AL Rookie of the Year. The Yankees have good pieces on their team. Obviously, outside of Soto, there's guys like Gleyber Torres and Alex Verdugo, and I believe Anthony Rizzo and guys like that are going to be free agents, and they're probably going to be making some moves and move on for some guys. But my idea of Soto potentially leaving the Yankees, I think the Yankees are still going to be in a good spot. Like, they're still going to have a good team. Like obviously Judge, Stanton, Garrett Cole, who I didn't even mention, like these guys made a World Series. They have that experience now, and they know what it's like to get there. I think for them, they're still going to be fine. Obviously, like losing Juan Soto, no matter what team you are, it's just like you can't justify saying your team got better by getting rid of somebody like that. Comes to the Yankees, they have guys like Spencer Jones, they have guys like Jason Dominguez that are going to be coming up, and they're going to command one of those outfield spots. And obviously, if Soto's still on the team, that really doesn't matter. If anything, it makes maybe one of those guys expendable, or you can find a place to put either one of them. They have young players that are going to be coming up, and with or without Soto, they're going to be guys there that, again, you can move or you can place him in there. You can have Judge as he starts to get older, have him start being more of a DH or whatever. And you still have Stanton, you still have all these other guys, and potentially bringing back some players, or potentially, moving around and trying to get a couple of big players in free agency, like bringing in Alex Bregman to play third, or trading for Alec Bohm. The Yankees are still going to make moves, and they're still going to be able to still be, well, the Yankees are still going to be a great team as long as Aaron Judge is on that team, as long as Garrett Cole is still on that team. Like those guys are going to still be trying to compete every year, whether or not Juan Soto's on the team. But obviously Juan Soto, he was absolutely fantastic for the Yankees. Putting him in Yankee Stadium for 81 games a year can only help his stats and help his production. And again, like this dude was an absolute monster. You saw what he can do. And he was the key piece, I would say, for the Yankees really getting over the hump and finally making it back to another World Series. And they have the meltdown in the World Series. I don't know if that one instance and that one game is going to kind of try to really like diminish the year that the Yankees had. They were arguably the best team in the AL East, or not the AL East. They were the best team in the American League for the entire season. Now, do I ultimately see Soto going back to the Yankees? Yeah, probably. Like, I think they will sell him on the fact that they made the World Series, and you look at the career year you had, and we're going to pay you all this money. And people say the pinstripes weigh heavy, and honestly, like that may be the case. Who knows? But again, it's like I think the Yankees are still going to be good with or without Soto, but I'm pretty sure they would love to keep Soto more than see him go, especially to a potential rival. Speaking of Juan Soto potentially going to a rival, let's talk about the Red Sox. Yes, the Boston Red Sox last year with this whole full throttle bullshit, and the fact that we're hearing so many rumors and there's so much smoke about Juan Soto to the Red Sox, or Juan Soto having getting a good impression from the Red Sox. And to be honest, I don't carry a lot of those reports with much weight, because again, it's like until I'm more, especially in the recent seasons, I'm optimistic, but I'm waiting for like things to play out, because I don't want to raise my expectations. But I just like the thought of the Red Sox actually going out and having somebody like Juan Soto as their top priority. And I think it's the idea of the Red Sox seeing the Yankees, or Red Sox ownership, and like, the people in charge over there seeing the Yankees make the World Series, and like whether or not like you're in the World Series, so you have the best chance out of any team in your respective league to win the championship that year. And I'm pretty sure that didn't give the Red Sox as an organization a good feeling. You look at the Red Sox, and a lot of things I hear people are talking about, like, oh, the Red Sox shouldn't go after Juan Soto. They should worry more about pitching. Oh, they'll have too many lefties. Like, you have Willie Abreu, you have Duran, Devers, yada yada yada. I say this to those people, those armchair GMs: having too many lefties, having to adjust your roster to fit somebody from the likes of Juan Soto, that's the best possible problem you can have. But I'm thinking about this from the Red Sox perspective. You bring in Juan Soto, you have him play left or right field, and then you're able to move pieces like some of those lefties people were talking about, like a Willie or Abreu. You can trade guys like out of the big three or the big four. You bring in Juan Soto, you slide him in left field. You can trade Masataka Yoshida. You can trade Abreu, like I mentioned earlier. You can use one of the pitchers that you had who had like somebody like a Cutter Crawford who had a solid season last year. Overall, you can trade some of these guys to go and get that pitching you're talking about. You can use whatever money you have left to go and try to offer, one of these frontline starters a contract. That shows the rest of the free agents. You bring in somebody like Juan Soto, oh, the Red Sox are a team that is serious about competing again. It's not just a team that's just interested in some guys. Like, I feel like the Red Sox, at least with all those reports I'm seeing this year, is that these guys are a lot more serious about wanting to bring in players. So I honestly think the Red Sox could really be in play for Juan Soto. The Red Sox really need to bring back another superstar level talent, like a top 5 player in the league. I love Rafael Devers. He's one of the best third basemen in baseball. I don't care about the defense he gives you or whatever. One of the best players in the league and one of the best players at his position. And potentially Tristan Casas is somebody else who can get traded too if the reports are true that the Red Sox, or Alex Cora more specifically, wants to move Devers to first base. That's another lefty that you can trade. I do honestly think Casas could get traded, maybe, maybe not. If the Red Sox were to bring in somebody like Juan Soto, for one, you take away one of the biggest weapons a division rival has, and you add it to your lineup with the Jarren Duran, with the Rafael Devers. You go and make some more moves. You try to get another right-handed bat, potentially Teoscar Hernandez, but again, I want to know the money situation after they bring in Soto. But in any case, you can be very well comfortable with the fact that the Red Sox will acknowledge these issues bringing in Soto, but then they would be able to move around and kind of correct the other parts of the roster that need the most help, like a right-handed bat, like some more pitching. The idea of Juan Soto being the face of the Red Sox franchise probably gives you fever dreams or absolute nightmares, depending on what kind of fan you are. And again, the Red Sox seem like they're just one season away from really getting, or one big signing away from really getting back to where they want to be and really getting back to contention, or at least playing meaningful baseball in the later parts of the season. This year, they started off great, but then they, had a pretty horrid second half. Like, some guys just weren't playing up to par, and then really Jarren Duran at times felt like the only consistent guy at the plate. I'll say the Red Sox are probably, people are probably not giving enough credit or giving enough merit to the Red Sox potentially being able to swipe Juan Soto away. But again, until we ultimately see him sign, who knows? But I think Juan Soto to the Red Sox isn't as crazy as many people may believe. Now, guys, let's talk about the Mets. They came up just short in the NLCS to potentially make it a Subway Series World Series, which would have been awesome for me just as a baseball fan from that perspective. But you look at the Mets, obviously you have Steve Cohen, the multi-billionaire owner, and he's stated that the Mets are going to try everything they can to bring Juan Soto to Queens, and they're losing a big player in Pete Alonso. Odds are, it seems like, I don't know. It seems like the whole Pete Alonso thing is kind of iffy. I think there's a good chance they could bring him back. Also, you're losing somebody like Sean Manaea, who's potentially going to get signed elsewhere. You got a 27 home run season out of Mark Vientos. Brandon Nimmo, he had himself another great solid season. I think it was the first year on that new contract with the Mets. Francisco Lindor, he was the engine that made the Mets go. Like, if Francisco Lindor isn't on this team, the Mets team doesn't even sniff the playoffs. They had a tremendous second half. Like, these guys were doing all the right things, and they were that team that got hot at the right time. Francisco Lindor could have very well been the NL MVP if it wasn't for somebody like Shohei Ohtani. The Mets were fantastic, and keep in mind, 27 home runs for Mark Vientos, and he only played 111 games. Like, I can only imagine what he's going to do next year. And like, the Mets are going to be in on a couple of big name free agents. They're going to be in on Pete Alonso to try to bring him back. They could be in on Corbin Burns to try to sign him. I think they have the second best odds of grabbing Juan Soto. I think it goes Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, and Blue Jays out of the 4 teams that have already met with him. It's just based on the money. I think that's an important thing, and being able to, and pairing him up with somebody like Francisco and Lindor, who are, like, obviously those two are close. And the idea that ownership is going to consistently want to build a contender around him, around the two of them, I should say, because the window for winning is right now in, like, with Francisco Lindor. I believe he just turned 30 years old this season. Another like 4 or 5 seasons of, like, fantastic Francisco Lindor baseball. Bringing in Soto, that will push the Mets even further. Could potentially have them as like a top 2 team in the NL East. The Mets can offer him the most money. The Mets can kind of sell him on the fact that of the recent postseason success. I'm not entirely sure. Like, do I believe that Juan Soto ultimately ends up with a New York team? Yeah, probably. But again, it's like a lot more people could probably think of a lot better reasons. I think I'm one of those people who isn't really as high on Soto to the Mets, and also potentially bringing in somebody like Corbin Burns. Like, they have a lot of money coming off their books, so they can really bring in big names like this. The Mets found a way to bring in Soto, and just that wouldn't, their offseason wouldn't end there. It seems like the Mets could look really different. From, like, the turnover would be absolutely insane. A team that was at times solely relying on Francisco Lindor to get him out of jams, to a team with multiple all-stars and multiple superstar level players in their lineup. And even then, like, the Mets last postseason were so fun to watch. Like, even at times, even if it was just seems like a one-man show with Lindor, with the grand slams and big home runs, and could have potentially missed the postseason altogether when it came down to the final couple of games of the season. But then you have the guys like Mark Vientos, who had big home runs in both the DS and the NLCS. Yeah, Pete Alonso, who saved their season at times. Important things for Juan Soto is probably the commitment to winning for any team that's even thinking about signing him, but more importantly, it's the money and the amount of years he's going to get said money for. Remember this, Juan Soto's a Scott Boras client, so this stuff may get dragged out, and they're going to try to get the best offer for Juan Soto. Like, I firmly believe it's in one of the New York teams, but I can be optimistic and hope he can land in Boston. But again, we got to wait and see. And by all means, I would love you guys' thoughts and opinions down below where you think Juan Soto's going. If you guys did enjoy the video, Please show your support down below as well. Share it around. If you guys want to stay up to date with all your favorite sports, check out VendettoSportsMedia.com. That's going to do it for me, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.